welcome back. And I hope you enjoyed that quick running tour. I can also recommend Prague as a good place to run, and I hope you get to do so in the future. Now we're going to start the next block of our sessions with sectoral experts. And our first sectoral expert that we'll be talking to is Jana Beranová, and she is the agriculture expert. And so for that, we will be tuning in. Great. Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
And I think I'll give the floor to you, and you can start with your presentation.
Thank you. I am ready. I'm waiting for it.
Right. Here we are.
Okay. So I hope that you can see the first slide of my presentation.
Yes.
Do you see it?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, fine. So my name is Jana Beranová, as you know. So I'm from IFER Institute of Forest Ecosystem Research, and I am working since 2016 as sectoral expert of agriculture. So we can go down. So I prepare. Oh, great. This agenda for my talk. But when I see your presentation, and I mean people from Macedonia, and also reports, I'm not sure if my presentation is not too simple for you because it seems me that you are more experienced as I am. So I propose if you see that will be more efficient to discuss directly to reply your question, then you listen my talk. So I am ready to stop and to continue by question and answer. Yeah. So I prepared this agenda. So it's about first shortly about agriculture in the Czech Republic and about trends in agriculture sector in the greenhouse gas emission inventory. I have some slides about emission trends and some short information about emission estimation per subsectors and also, I have one slide about QA/QC and the sectoral specification in this field, and also we have a space for question and discussion. So I prepare around 40 slides. I mean that my talk is possible to estimate for 40-45 minutes. Overview of the agriculture in the Czech Republic. There is the main information here about agricultural land. Agricultural land is about 53% of country area. Arable land only 40% of country area. It's funny that country is the self-sufficient in this moment only in beef, milk, cereals, sugar, and the beer production. That is most important. 72% of the agricultural land is rented, and we have a very low share of small farms. Only 9% of agricultural land is occupied by small farms, less than 50 hectares of agricultural land. Agriculture sector has a very low share, 1.6% on the gross domestic product in the Czech Republic, and cover only 174,000 full-time jobs in the Czech Republic. So that is the minor employee in the Czech Republic. The emission trends and also emission inventory as a whole reflects some historical consequences. So you can see it here. So as you know, so in 1980 1989, the collapse of communistic regime start to market economy in agriculture as well. Since 19th, we transform and adopt agriculture to the new economic condition. In 2004, we entered to European Union and start acceleration of coordination of the national agriculture policy with European Union, what was important for restructuralization of the Czech agriculture. In this moment, the structure of agriculture production is affected by subsidies and direct payments and a lot of rules of European Union. That's all is possible to see in the trends of the greenhouse gas emission inventory in this sector. In this moment, the agriculture cover 6.5% share of the total emission, and covers also 29 total national emission of methane and 76 total national emission of nitrous oxide. Emission trends, as I said, followed the political and historical overview. It means that we have a reduction around 50% during reporting period, mainly from the beginning, 1990 to 2010. From this moment, from 1997 till now, we have fluctuation of emission plus minus 10%. We can say that the forecast for the future years is the steady state or downward trend due to methodological update. We do not expect any deep changes in the future. So on the table below, you can see the trend in numbers and relative expression. It means when we see 1990 as a 10%, 100%, then it's possible to say that in 2019 we have only 52% of the beginning emissions. In this slide, you can see overview of significant categories in agriculture sector. You can see that the most important subsectors are 3D1, agriculture soil direct N2O emissions, and 3A, enteric fermentation. The other subsectors are not so important, are below 1% of the total greenhouse gas emissions. On this slide, you can see the trend of the main inventory sectors. Agriculture is the yellow one line. You can see it here. I don't know if you see it well. So, but you can see that we start on 100% and now are below 60, something around 50, 55, as I said before. I'm sorry, I lose this clicker. I have it back. The main source of emission in agriculture sector in the Czech Republic are enteric fermentation as the source of methane, manure management as a source of methane and nitrous oxide, agriculture soils as the source of N2O, and liming urea consumption as a source of carbon dioxide emissions. We do not have emissions from rice cultivation, we do not have emission from burning, and we do not have animals others as a buffalo, llamas, moles. We have only horses, cattle, sheep, swine, poultry as livestock in the Czech Republic in an estimation of our emissions. During the time we change, or it's possible to see the change in share of emission sources in agriculture sector. On the beginning, we have the same share of emission from agricultural soils, enteric fermentation, and manure management. In this moment, you can see that the share of emissions from manure management is slowly or is decreasing a few. It is the consequences of changes in AWMS, Animal Waste Management System, as you see later in my presentation. So on this slide, you can see the trends from agriculture sectors in all emission. The columns are split by subsectors. You can see that the most important is enteric fermentation and managed soils. The other subsector are not so important. You can see the trend. It means that on beginning we have almost 16,000 kilotons of CO2, and now we have on the one half around 8,000 kilotons. On this three graphs, it's possible to see the trend of the main activity data, which influence the full trend of emission inventory in agriculture. On the first, on the right side, on the left side, you can see the development of animal population. The pink color or violet color, it's a pigs. The blue line is cattle. The violet is on the down is sheep. You can see a very fast decreasing of the number of population. On the graph on the right side, you can see the development of animal waste management system. When it's important on the last since 2016, we start to count with anaerobic digesters, which important way influence the results of emission inventory. On the graph below, you can see the consumption of the nitrogen from synthetic fertilizer. You can see that we start with a high amount of nitrogen, following by the deep go down, decreasing, and now we are going up to more consumption of synthetic nitrogen in the Czech Republic in soil management. If I understood well, you were also interesting about time schedule of the inventory. So I try to formulate my time schedule of the year. For your information, I don't know if it is so important. But I can say that I start in March, April, May with preparation of the new inventory. I realize the improvement plan. I am looking for new possibilities. I communicate. I am studying. In May, June, I am preparing proxy inventory. So I start with data collection and technical maintenance of calculation spreadsheets. On the second half of year, we normally start with a review of the previous submission, and we find new inspiration in the review process and start with corrective action in spreadsheets, accelerated by a review process. And from October, from this time, October, November, I'm starting with the new activity data collection, emission calculation, and starting with the new numeric part of the emission inventory. And from December to January, February, we finalize new submission. We prepare reporting, and also we're beginning with the new review process. It means we replies new question from the reviewer team. So, and now I think that we say a lot about trends and about agriculture inventory. If you have any questions, so we can stop here and reply your question to general question, because now I will continue directly to the method in use and activity data and so on. Can I continue?
I think so.
Yes.
So it's possible to continue. Yes? Okay, no question. Okay. So if we can go back to my presentation. Okay. So generally about methods used in the Czech inventory, I think the same. I use the same methodological approach as you have. It means that my Bible is IPC guidelines for national greenhouse gas inventories, mainly chapter 10 and 11. I also studying relevant national studies focused on the key points of the inventory. It's important to have these studies in dispose, for it means it needs a lot of communication with which experts of different research institute and official Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Environmental, to get these relevant national studies for and to understand them enough, and to be able to translate it to the or to introduce, to implement it to national inventory. Very important for the methodological work is the consultancy and personal communication with other subjects working in international reporting. In the Czech Republic, it is people which are responsible for reporting to Eurostat, OECD, to FAOStat, people which reports about air pollutants in agriculture, people working in cattle breeding, and feed specialists. What is very important for me, it's very often the methodological advices and recommendation which I receive from a reviewers team, and also information which are available in the NIR reports of other countries, or thematic reports which are prepared by UNFCCC or GRC of FAO. In the next slide, I prepare 5 the most important publication which I use for the improvement plan of the or for implementation of the improvement plan in the current submission. So I think it could be very useful for you. Mainly the third one about livestock activity data guidance, which is from New Zealand. So, but the information are very good. The publication has a very good structure, and it's very helpful for in formulation of update to level 2 in or tier 2 in I mean mainly in enteric fermentation, which you plan, as I understood well. Generally, the next slides, it's about activity data. In general, we can see that if we use the default data, in this case, we use data from cool climate and with annual average temperature below 10 degree. Czech Republic is developed country and count to Western Europe. As a default data, we use, for example, N2O emission factors, methane conversion factor, CO2 emission factor, fraction of loss, fraction of for indirect emission, and that's country-specific data is necessary to be well documented. The subject of the very often the subject of the review process is checking of the documentation. It means it's necessary to have references and well documented data or sources of the country-specific data. In this moment, we use NEX rates, which are derived from a decree. It means it's a part of our law system. Animal waste management system. These data are shared with other reporting. It means that this official data, which are input for OECD reporting, FAUSTA reporting, and also for EER, IIR reporting. Number of livestock we have from Czech Statistical Office. It means it's well documented data. Crop yields the same, and consumption of nitrogen in mineral fertilizer we have of Ministry of Agriculture. Unfortunately, often we use expert judgment that is not a very strong source of data, and we try to change the expert judgment for well documented country-specific data. In this moment, we use expert judgment for digestibility of cattle feed, and for example, for share of digestate generated from manure. Some data, country-specific data are calculated when we have suitable input data available. It is, for example, methane emission factor for enteric fermentation in cattle category, or methane emission factor for manure management in swine category. On this slide, it's not very good seen, but I would like to show you that is directly my central, I would say the main spreadsheet for calculation. When I have a sheet with activity data overview, this arrangement allow me to follow all activity data or data inputs for the whole time series, together with unit data sources, and also data sheet location where when I find there or where I calculate with them. It's useful for two things. The first one is the overview of activity data which are in use, and the second one is that it's possible to follow the changes, the trends of the activity data during the time. It's good for quality control, as well for follow the trend and discussions with a review team or other experts about improvement process. On this slide, you can see the scheme of the greenhouse gas inventory in the sector of agriculture. The boxes below, the white one, content information about the main activity data which are needs for estimation. This scheme is useful mainly when we are discussing with other experts or agricultural experts about how we proceed the estimation. It's good for explanation how it's going and which data is used and how the greenhouse gas inventory is estimated in this sector. I hope that is useful also for you. And here on this slide, you can see the different or the methodological level which we use for the different subsector. It's clear that we have tier 2 level only for enteric fermentation in cattle category, for methane emission from manure for cattle and swine category. We have country-specific data about manure management system and the next rate for all animals. And for direct and indirect emission from manure, we use combination of tier 1 and tier 2 methods because we have country-specific data, but default emission factor in calculation. And for the 3D direct emission from soil, indirect emission from soils, urea application and liming, we use tier 1 level of the methodology. In the next several slides, I will introduce you to my or our opinion or our exactly how we continue or how we work in estimation of emission. So we will start with enteric fermentation for it because it's more, as you know from the beginning of my presentation, is one of the most important part of the inventory. We have a separate spreadsheet for calculation based on national study. We use country-specific data for estimation, but we will go according IPC methodology, so we do not have any model for it. We use 10 subcategories of cattle. For this 10 subcategories, we collect data or activity data. Then we count it for each subcategories of cattle. For each subcategory, we estimated the main information about gross energy intake and about emission factor, and the results are reported in two subcategories for dairy cattle and other cattle. When other cattle, the numbers in or value in other cattle category are opened, are wages average of results from individual categories. On the next slide, we will see the overview of activity data which we use for calculation, and also short description and a source of data. I think that it's not necessary to go line by line, but we can discuss about information in this table if it will be useful for you. From my point of view, it's the most important things that we have feed digestibility as an expert opinion, and that it is the most important information for our estimation. and I would need, or we would need, to have well-documented information about feed digestibility, because it could allow us to be more precise in the estimation of methane emission from enteric fermentation. It's true that we are working on it. In the following table, you can see the development of input data. In this case, it's weight, body weight of different categories of cattle. You can see that we use different data for different period. It looks that our dairy cows are about more than 100 kilograms heavier since 2016 in comparison with the beginning of the inventory. On the other side, we have development of other important input data. It means daily milk production, which started on 10 liters or 10.767 liter per day per head in 1990, and today or these days we have something around 24 liters per day and per head. It means that the increasing is very high. On the other side, the fat content, it's also one important input data, is going slowly down from 4.03% in 1990 to 3.98 in 2019. In this table, you can see what the changes of the input data caused in emission on when we calculated emission factor and methane emission in total. In this table, you can see the overview of numbers of population of dairy cows and other cattle cows or other cattle categories, emission factors, and emission as a total. You can see that we started in 1990. The emission factor for dairy cattle for enteric fermentation was around 98. In 2019, we have 156.36 kilograms of methane per head. It is the one of the highest value in the Europe, and we are working hard on on improvement of this number, because that is the result of growing weight of animals, growing production, milk production, and maybe our estimation of digestibility is too low and not follow the more productive, our more productive cows. I hope that I don't know if you know exactly so, but the default value for Western Europe of this emission factor is 117 according IPCC guidelines 2006. In this slide, or the next step, is enteric fermentation of other animals. Maybe I forgot to say that the enteric fermentation of cattle covered 96% of enteric fermentation methane emission. So other animals are less important, covers only 4% of the enteric fermentation emission, and we calculated according this emission on the level tier 1. It means that we use emission factor from default emission factor, population, and emission factor from table 1010 of IPCC guidelines. And animal population we use the data from Czech Statistical Yearbook. When we will go to other sub-sector, it means 3B1. It's about methane emission from manure in cattle category. Then we will use the same calculation spreadsheet, and the main input data are calculated for enteric fermentation. It means we use G, gross energy intake, and digestibility from previous enteric fermentation estimation, and to the calculation we add information from B0 from table 10, A9 from IPCC, and MCF, methane conversion factor from table 1017 from the IPCC guidelines. We work by the same way as in case of enteric fermentation. It means that all data we calculated for each subcategories of cattle, and then we will calculate wages average for other categories, or we calculate for the inputs or results for two categories, dairy cattle and other cattle, which are weighted average of all other cattle subcategories. The new one, we have the new one approach for estimation of methane emission from manure for swine. We updated the calculation for submission 2002. It means that is in preparation in this moment. We use separate spreadsheet for it, and we use country-specific inputs derived from Czech law. It means degree 377 from 2013. Our main inputs for this calculation in swine population split to 4 weight categories: production of manure per year per animal, production of dry matter in excretion is also country-specific data, and the methane conversion factor based on animal waste management system, which is country-specific and default value from IPCC guidelines. The B0, we use also default information from IPCC guidelines. What is important is that this recalculation or estimation of methane emission from manure based on country-specific data allow us to have to decrease a value of emission factor for more than 50%. It's important and good for our emission inventory. On this slide, you can see how it looks like on the calculation spreadsheet. I don't know if it's good. It's possible to see from your place, but on line 25 on this picture, you can see the methane emission from 2003 on the beginning to 2020, and you can see that we change the emission from 9.78 to 2.43 by this way. I mean by usage the Czech specific data or country specific data for calculation instead of default data from IPCC methodology. For methane emission from methane emission from manure for other livestock, we use tier 1 calculation to use equation 10.12 and default value data default emission factor from table 1015, and the animal population from Czech Statistical Yearbook. And we calculate this directly in the central Excel tool. Now we have 3 or 2 slides aimed to animal waste management system and the next rate and the result of time or time development of the numbers in use. What I mean, so here you can see the animal waste management system overview, time overview from 1990 to 2019, and it's possible to say that to 2015 we use expert opinion in estimation of share of different system. You can see that we have we use, for example, 25% of liquid fraction for dairy cattle for the years 1990. It was effort of our review process which press us or push us to make some statistical survey and how it looks like in real, the animal waste management system in the Czech Republic. And the result of this survey changed the animal waste management system by this way. You can see that from 2016 we have, for example, anaerobic digesters, 32% of manure is used in anaerobic digesters. Here you can see the results for dairy cattle and non-dairy cattle. So, but we have the similar changes for all animals in agriculture sectors. On the next slide, you can see a comparison. So, what we do in this field in 2000 in the last submission was that we change next rate from default estimation to country-specific data. In this table, you can see how change next rate for dairy cattle and other animals from submission 2020 to submission to 2021. Yeah, it's seen or possible to see that for some categories the change is very deep. For another one, it's not so important. But when we compare the production or manure distribution by different management system and the amount of nitrogen in manure, we can see deep differences between submission 2017, 2020 and 2021. So in the comparison of 2017 to 2020, it seems the differences, which is the result of the changes of our animal waste management system. The third column on the right side, it's possible to see how the country-specific next rate influence or affect the total amount of nitrogen in manure. When we will go further in our presentation, thanks to use of country-specific data in subsector 3B2, direct NO2 emission from manure, we are on tier 2 level, and the animal and in activity and input data are prepared in close cooperation with Crop Research Institute, We use animal population, nitrogen excretion rate derived from the CRE, annual waste management system with annual update based on statistical survey, and the default emission factor from table 1021 from IPCC guidelines. For 3B2 indirect emission, we will go according Tier 1 methodology. We are under press of review process to be more harmonized with inventory of air pollutants, and we are working on it. But in this moment, we use Tier 1, and we use default value from table 10.22 for derive on an lost nitrogen loss due volatilization. For nitrogen loss due leaching, we have the country-specific number derived from a research report, and we estimated that this 1% from solid manure storage is lost due to leaching and runoff. Regarding the next subcategories, 3D, direct and 2O emission, we are going according Tier 1, equation 11.1, and it's the most important share of the agriculture greenhouse gas emission. And for you, or from point of view of this presentation, I think that is most important information about activity data. Here is the listed which we used, and also the sources of it. I think that, or for me, it's important, mainly the annual amount of organic fertilizer applied to soil, which we summarize the nitrogen from sewage sludge, data from Czech Statistical Yearbook, amount of digestate applied to soil, which is generated from manure, that is expert opinion, based on statistical survey, and also manure, managed manure, often or nitrogen from managed manure applied available for soil. It's also important input data, which are possible to compare with other reporting, and that is the key point when we try to find some quality control, or when we find harmonization between different reporting. What is the next important number is an annual amount of N of nitrogen from crop residues and fixing crops. We are going according Tier 1, but we try to find some better estimation of this number, because it looks that it's too high. What we can see here, where the sources are split to subcategories and share of the total share of the total nitrogen of these sources. The first one is synthetic fertilizer, 55%. The crop residues is 28% of nitrogen, which are the source of direct emission and NO2 emission from managed agriculture soils. So we are going to the end. Here is 3D on the indirect emission from soil. When we go according Tier 1 level of methodology. On this slide you can see which equation and which table we use for calculation. In case of leaching and runoff, we also use or going according Tier 1, and we use this equation and table mentioned in this in the slide. When we go to 3G, CO2 emission from liming, it's maybe important to say that under the pushing of review team, we split the annual amount of limestone to limestone and dolomite applied on forest land and grassland. It was difficult to find the right data, but according FAO reporting, it's the same data are needed for FAO reporting, and therefore we get this information, and the estimation is more precise. And for nitrogen or CO2 emission from urea, we also change the activity data. Firstly, we use only nitrogen from nitrogen in urea fertilizer, but under pressure of reviewer, we have to add also nitrogen in DAM. I think that in English, right? In English is UAN, no DAM. It's urea and ammonium nitrate solutions, and all these sources from nitrogen of these both sources is counted the total amount of urea products per year, and CO2 emissions are estimated. So now that's all about the description or detailed description of our activity data methods and maybe some results of emission inventory in agriculture. So we are on the end. Here is the slide about quality assumption and quality control. So I think that we use the current processes. It means that my colleagues provide internal routine technical support of me. It means that we are going for some cross-checking of data, spreadsheets, reports, and so on. We also cross-check the consistency of activity data with different sources of information. It means that information from Czech Statistical Yearbook is possible to compare with some data of Ministry of Agriculture. And when it is possible, we did it or we do it. The most important way of quality control is sharing of input data and consultation under it with experts from Agricultural Research Institute, university, and other relevant subjects. For me, it's very important when I have possibility to update or to check my calculation spreadsheets with data specialists, because their technical point of view sometimes is better than my focus to methodology, and they help me to keep the spreadsheets on a good technical level. The next important QA/QC process is cooperation with officials from Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Environment regarding specific issue, mainly projection or assumption of emission reduction, missing data, and so on. What I could personally recommend it is that is fine when a sectoral expert is not alone. It's better because for QA/QC processes is important when 2 people in minimum are able to cover the problems of the emission inventory, because it's very complex thing. spread together in the data, working with data, working with research results, and also communication with specialists. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much for your passion, and I am ready to reply your questions. I think that also I will be ready to reply your questions coming later by emails and so on. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Beranova. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
Mrs. Baranova. We really appreciate it.
And I would
And
like to give the floor
I would
to Pavlina, and we will also be joined by the livestock expert for the Macedonian inventory. So
Yeah.
Pavlina.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, the livestock expert had some internet issues and has just disconnected. But he will send. He managed to send some questions, so I've compiled some of the questions, and he will send additionally afterwards. So it would be great if you can provide answers by email. I would like to thank you for the detailed presentation, and I will ask a couple of questions that I have compiled from the team. If someone else from the State Statistical Office would like to ask additionally something, please let me know. First of all, we have seen that there was huge amount of data needed for the this agriculture and livestock sectors. So we were interested, how does data collection versus availability goes? You said that you were facing challenges with obtaining some data. Maybe you can provide some specific example how you have resolved that. You mentioned a couple of times surveys done by state statistical offices. This a solution to the data availability problem? Does it provide data in details that are enough for development of greenhouse gas inventory and similar? Please.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if I understood well what is the question. So, so I can say in general. So that is every year fight how to get the best data available for emission inventory. So only some of them are easily available every year in the same structure. I mean, yeah. For example, population of animal is provided by Czech Statistical Office every year on the beginning or on the middle of the year. It's possible to say, but very often they change the structure of the subcategories, and it means that I have to recalculate or to improve my calculation, because they change, for example, the age of calves from 0 to 6 months to 0 to 8 months. Yeah, and in this case, all other input data as a body weight and so on is changed. So that is the first. When I need some data, I need to find, firstly, I try to find somebody who also needs similar data. That is the good way how to support each other and to push somebody to generate this data. It was the case of statistical survey in animal waste management system, because it looks for important and useful for more international reporting in agriculture. Then we match together. We make one team. My colleagues from other reportings, and we ask on the Ministry of Agriculture for to formulate the specific task for their research organization, or how it say, and they organize the statistical survey. But it takes 2-3 years for when we have a result of it, and we have to proceed the results to publication to be able to refer to review team this result as well documented. So I don't know, maybe. So if you need something more, so I don't know if is it enough for you, this reply.
Yes, it is. Thank you. And when you have something that you cannot resolve internally in the country, some specific issue, do you have some kind of communication group within EU with other countries? Whom do you approach when you can't resolve some issue internally in your country? Do you have any other country that you cooperate with while development of greenhouse gas inventories? Like we asked for your support, whose support you ask when you are stuck in resolving some issue?
Yeah. So the first one in this turn is Slovakia. So because we have very similar conditions and language, and then the same or joint history. So we are in close cooperation with the people from our emission inventory from Slovakia and agriculture specialists there. So when I need something, it is the first line where I ask for help. And for me, but it's there is very inspirative, and for me it's very useful to read or to study reports and to check the data, available data from other national inventory system from other European country, mainly from Central Europe or Western Europe. So when I need some methodological improvement or to go to higher level, I'm studying the Netherlands, Denmark, Austria, Germany. So that is the sources of up-to-date procedures of estimation, and it's good to be inspired by it.
Thank you. And one last question. Do you also prepare the inventory, or you are engaged in development of the inventory for EEA about the air quality? Because they do also report similar data about agriculture and livestock. Do you cooperate with them? Do you participate in development of these inventories? How one can improve reporting into the other?
So I am not responsible for it. So, but I am in close cooperation with the guy who is responsible for it, and we are working hard on harmonization of our output. In this moment, we are on the level that we use the same inputs. It was important and not easy. So, but in this moment, we are on this line. And for the next year, we are prepared to harmonize our inputs, and we know that it's possible to calculate indirect NTO emission from manure by the data from ER reporting. And when we use this way, we are able or we will save some amount of CO2 emission. So we are ready to do it. So, but for the next submission, and inspiration for it we found in Germany national inventory, and I mean also the Netherlands, where the process how to harmonize this is very well described. I can recommend it.
Thank you very much. And throughout all these years, what would you estimate the level of introduction of additional tiers into the inventory for your sectors? Would it be 50% tier 2, 10% tier 3? Would you be able to make such a estimation?
You mean for this harmonization, the harmonization, or harmonization
General,
with
for
EER?
your sector. No, for the greenhouse gas inventory for the agriculture sector and land use, how detailed is it? Do you have data to say that the greenhouse gas inventory is prepared 50% using tier 2 approach, or is less?
So now, I'm sorry, but I cannot imagine, or I did not understand well. What do you mean?
Ano.
Please, once more, please.
Jestli můžu do toho vstoupit v češtině a vysvětlit.
Yeah, I think Markéta is just going to explain the question to Mrs. Beranova.
Já jsem to pochopila, tu otázku tak, že se ptají, jestli, nebo kolik procent z tého sektoru zemědělství je vypočítáno pomocí tier 2, pomocí tier 1, tier 1 a tak.
Uh-huh. I think that more, no. So it's difficult to say because we have tier 2 for mostly all enteric fermentation. It's around 35, I think, %. And in other big subsector as the soil management, which is around 40% of total agriculture emission, we use combination because we have a NEX and animal waste management system from tier 2 and emission factor for tier 1. I think it's difficult to say, but I think that no more than 1/3 of emission is calculated by tier 2 method.
Thank you very
1/3.
much.
Thank you. I am sorry that I did not understand.
No problem. That was all from our side at this point. Thank you very much for your presentation and for answering all our questions.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your patience, and as I said, so I am ready to reply your additional questions if any.
Okay.
Yes? Okay.
Did
Can
you
I-
want to-
Goodbye.
Yeah.
We may
Can I
have a
add
little bit
something? I would like to say that in the past years, Jana Beranova did many improvements in the inventory. Maybe it can seem like that, yeah, we are still on the tier 1 level in many categories, but also the improvement was huge. And I must say that it could be seen during our review in this September, when the agriculture sector actually has the least amount of questions. So I think that her work is really seen also on the reviewers level. So
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. I am sorry if you got the impression that we didn't think that enough has been done. We also think that it is impressive how much and in details from her presentation you have worked on these sectors, because we had significant difficulties facing data availability and data collection from these sectors. These sectors was one of the with highest uncertainties, if I recall well. So we want to utilize every experience that you might want to share with us, how you enabled the data and made the data collection more sustainable, so we can follow your footsteps and be able to compile more precise inventory in these sectors like yours. Thank you once again. We appreciate your time and your presentation, and really glad that we met virtually.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I
Goodbye.
just one quick wait. Oh, yeah, just one question before you go, and that was you mentioned the interest in having a country-specific emission factor for feed digestibility. But I was also curious about what else you are thinking about. The next, say, 3 to 5 years. What kinds of more country-specific emission factors are you considering?
So I'm not sure. You mean for the future? With what we expect?
Exactly.
Okay. So the most important task, the first is the enteric fermentation and emission factor for emission fermentation. It's a hard work which need a lot of my effort, and I'm not sure when I will be able to finish it next year or the next year. So we will see. I hope that it will be good. And next step, which I'm working on, is emission factor or indirect emission and harmonization with EER processes and estimation of pollutants in ammonium
Ammonia.
ammonium and NOx, because it's a way how to really improve the both reporting and make the check reporting processes, the both check or maybe more check processes comparable and stronger before or against a review process. So that's my effort to finish these two things next or the next year, the latest. We will see. It's not easy to estimate.
Right. And in terms of the international literature that you are reviewing, are you seeing any particular areas of discussion that are particularly kind of active right now? Is there any kind of hot topic in terms of the data or methodologies in the agriculture sector?
Mm-hmm. Very interesting is the discussion about remote methods for estimation of methane emission from agriculture. Yes, so it's I think promising. I read some articles about and the comparison of the methods. I mean remote sensing methods and calculation which we used, and unfortunately it looks like the data from remote sensing are higher than our estimation, and it could be a bad message for our estimation and inventory as a process and way how to which allow the policy how to decrease the greenhouse gas emission. So that is I'm studying, or so now it's what I do not like is that our emission inventory or our emissions could be lower because I improve the calculation, but what I miss is the real data about emissions. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so because I do not know if I can improve my estimation, use country-specific data, but where is the how I can compare my results with the real situation? It's only I don't know if you understand me. So I only playing with numbers.
Yeah.
Yes, with values and so on. So, but the real situation, it's not clear, and I can by my work by decreasing of emission, I can negatively influence the total situation, and it's not pleasant pleasant. I do not have pleasant feeling for it. If is it understandable what I say? I am not prepared for such philosophical discussion. So
yeah. No,
But I feel this.
Thank you. There is also one more question in the chat. I don't know if you can take a look.
I'm sorry, I do not know what happened.
Oh, that if the chat in the Zoom. Maybe you can read it, Pavlina, just so we know, because we can't see the chat section from the studio.
My colleague will read it. It's too far from me.
Okay, the question is from our expert in the agriculture sector, Professor Dushko Muketov. His question is, do you have a system for collecting data in agricultural sector for soil management practices and inputs in soils? Do you have soil monitoring schemes?
Yes. I can
So I
explain
don't know.
Oh, good, Mr. Muk. Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Pavlina,
Yes, yes,
You-
yes, we can hear you. Yes, please.
you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello to all participants. It's a very nice meeting today, very nice opportunity to share some experience. So my question was to my colleague, because she explained some information about the agricultural part and the emissions from the soil as a part of agriculture. And my question was, do you have any system how you collect to collect the management practices from agriculture? Not just the area, but how do they cultivate their land? Do they irrigate or not? And what are the inputs? Because those factors are also very important when you evaluate the changes of soil organic carbon. We are advising our ministry to collect them through the land parcel identification system. Maybe. What is your opinion to this sentence?
It is the question to my colleague, which will have a presentation after me. And really, we have on the Ministry of Agriculture, we have the system of LPACE, land parcel identification system, which we will use for identification of or the not very precise, but better than nothing evidence of management of soil management in the Czech Republic. So, but it's the turn of my colleague, which is responsible for LULUCF sector. Yeah, I do not solve it in agriculture.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from Skopje?
No, not at this point.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add? I think it's.
No.
I think you had a very thorough presentation, so you've answered many of our questions. In that case, my understanding as the land use change and forestry expert will be available at 2:30, and so we will probably, I think, take a break until 2:30. So we will move our lunch up slightly, if that's all right with everybody. I'd like to get consensus.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. All right. And I'd like to thank all of the presenters this morning. And please feel free to give us feedback on any aspect of the format so far, or if you have questions during the lunch break, so we can fine-tune our arrangements. The only other thing I would add is that the presentations from this morning will be available to all of the participants. So you will be able to reference them after the study tour. All right.
Thank you very much. And we will see each other later. Looking forward to continue our discussion.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good lunch.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, you too. Bye.